Welcome back. We are going to kill each other today. That's the title of a chilling book written by some award-winning journalist. The story deals with the horror of the Marikana massacre. Let's now talk to two of the authors, Thanduxolo Jika and Lucas Litwaba. Good morning, Thanduxolo, and good morning, Lucas. Thanks for coming in to talk to us about this book, which is being launched tomorrow to coincide with the first anniversary of the Marikana massacre. The first chapter of this book is by you, Lucas. You were on the ground covering the strike leading up to the massacre. Just tell us what you recall about the events leading up to the 16th of August last year.
Thank you, Dan. I arrived in Marikana on the 14th of August, that is 2 days before the shooting of 34 people. And by that time, 9 people had already died. The 10th person died while we were there covering the story on 14 August. He was a union shop steward. It was a very different kind of protest in that there was a lot of tension, there was a lot of bloodshed. You remember earlier in the year at Impala mine, next to Rustenburg, there was a similar protest where about 4 or 7 people died under almost the same circumstances. But this one was quite different in that there were plus minus 3,000 people who were protesting, and they had, because of the violence that had happened a few days earlier, they had found refuge on a Kopi, which became the center of everything that happened. So it was quite a hard-hitting experience being there, because often when we report the stories as journalists, we tend to side with the underdog. And when you get there and listen to the stories of some of the people, people who were third-generation mine workers, very poor, and they had no other way out.
Yeah, I know you spent some time, after the massacre, getting to know some of the families. We'll get to that because I think the purpose of this book, you guys are just telling it like it is. But Thanduxolo, you got there from the 16th on the massacre day itself, and you stayed there and with some of the families in the shacks where they stay. How was that experience for you arriving there as you were hearing the news of the massacre?
Yeah, it was just a couple of days after the 16th, obviously. But obviously it was a sort of a crazy idea to even go there because of the violence that one, saw on TV, being reported in the newspapers. But the idea was to get to tell the story from the inside, to see the lives of the mine workers, the conditions that they live under, and to establish, what could have led to them deciding to break ranks with their unions and decide, to go alone and get into a strike. So it was more of an in-depth inside story that I wanted to tell.
And some of the families you lived with in those conditions during the week after, yes, for the week after the massacre, had lost loved ones. Some of their loved ones had been injured, lying in hospital. I think there was a number of days when people actually did not know what had happened to their loved ones. How was that experience of talking to people who were facing such tough conditions?
Look, obviously, after the 16th, it was quite tense. People did not trust easily. It was difficult to get people to open up, and obviously also organizing a place to stay was a bit of a challenge. It was also a scary thought to also stay there. But people spoke about their daily issues, their real issue that led them to the strike. It was an interesting sort of story, different from what I had seen on TV, the violence, before the 16th. It was a different...
Talking to human beings.
Talking to human beings, basically.
And I'm sure that most of the stories you capture in your book, We Are Going to Kill Each Other Today, which I understand is going to be launched tomorrow at Constitution Hill to coincide with the first anniversary. All right, now I think let's try and get another perspective now on this story. Ayanda, my colleague, is with one of the photographers who's also contributed to this book, Leon Sadiki.
Well, Dan, you use the word chilling to describe the book. I think the pictures are no exception, and I'm with a man who took pictures of that fateful day. Leon Sadiki joins me now. The man in the green blanket, I think that image remains entrenched in the minds of so many South Africans. When you took that picture, did you know just how significant it would be?
Thank you very much. Little did I know that this will be the picture that will define what Marikana was all about. Arriving in Marikana on Tuesday, I think on the 14th or 13th, somewhere there. This was a man who seemed rather to be the guy who was leading the protest. And to be honest, he was rather a very calm guy who looked after us. You know, as photographers, you know, you always go to scenes, and the response that you get from people sometimes is not so accommodative. And he was the guy who was willing to say, let's allow these guys with their cameras, because we really think we have a story to tell, and they're the ones who are going to send the message out there so as people can be aware of what their grievances were.
And he later died. I think it was very, very chilling when we found out later that he was one of the people who passed away. I must just warn the viewers that, as is the case with many of the details in the book, the pictures that we're about to show also are very graphic. And there you have the man in the green blanket. But the next picture that I want to talk about, something that you captured, Pangas at dusk. Here's a picture where you see a beautiful, pristine sunset, and you juxtapose that with pangas and traditional weapons up in the air. I think that's very telling.
Yeah. You had to find a way to try and tell a story in a way that will sum up everything. I and Felix Langamandla, who's one of the photographers, we needed to go through a process where we needed to look at the pictures and which pictures would really tell the story in full, because the book then would only accommodate quite few pictures. The picture that I shot, sunset with the pangas on the air, was just trying to illustrate the other side of what was really going on in Marikana in as far as you know, the safety and all those related issues. I just felt the picture when I took it. You know, as a photographer, there's a couple of pictures that you will take more than 400 images, but there's always that one picture that you know that would always stand out. And at that time when I took the picture, you know, I connected with it. Hence, you see it in the book.
And I think as briefly as possible, you managed to highlight the individuality of it all. These people are usually seen as minors. They're a crowd, it's plural. But there are some pictures where you took and we can see the individual. And you think to yourself, this is somebody's father, this is somebody's brother, this is somebody's husband. And I think you did a sterling job at that as well. And we'll have to leave it there for now. Leon Sadiki, one of the photographers who took pictures of the Marikana massacre. Pradan, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ayanda. Well, time is really left us here, but the book is a very chilling account of what happened there, the Marikana massacre. We are going to kill each other today. It's being launched tomorrow at the Constitution Hill in Johannesburg, and we've been talking to two of the authors this morning, Thando Xolo Jiga of the City Press, Lucas Lidwaba of the Sowetan. At the time he covered the story, he was working for the City Press, and you've just seen there Leon Sadiki, one of the photographers who's also contributed to the book, who also works for the City Press. And there we're going to have to leave it. We're going to take a quick look at your headlines now here on Morning News Today.
News that moves. eNCA.com.